Joseph Mills, one more time here.
Ooh, that was a good technique to get two applauses.
Yeah,
Come up, you get
you
applause,
always
and
have
walk
to
away.
get the second one. Well, what I'd like to know, because I don't know, is how long you've been writing poetry, I guess literature in general, but I guess poetry.
I've been writing poetry since college, but I really hope none of that ever surfaces ever again. You know, you sometimes have nightmares about those poems, and so I didn't know what poetry was. And in college, I kind of wrote poems about, you know, flowers lifting their heads and smelling the spring, and it was. I fear that it will come up someday.
Were you doing any writing at all before, as a child? Or?
I was like a lot of people. I had visions of being a writer without actually doing any writing. So it was this idea of, ooh, I'd love to be a writer someday.
The first step is to see that. Yeah. But that's good. But your blend of delivery and the words, because the poems are fantastic. The writing is good, but when you deliver it, it's like no one else can do it. And so I know the first time I heard you was up in the gallery about 3 years ago, I guess it was, and it just that delivery sticks. So every time you read a Joe Mills poem, you hear that voice, and it brings the poetry out. That's the value of being able to hear a poet read their work. So was that something that you developed, or was that just
No, and it may be because I came to poetry kind of later in life. I wasn't raised in a family where, like, if you were going to be a poet, it would be like saying you were going to be an astronaut or something. They'd say, oh, that sounds great. You know, we didn't know anybody, so we didn't kind of see how that would work. And I would go to poetry readings, and my brother and I talk about this. He used to be a minister. There's a really weird thing that happens sometimes, and I respect a lot of poets, but sometimes the poets will get up there and you'll talk to them and they'll be perfectly normal. And then they'll get up and they'll develop poet voice. And it will be really weird. So, hold on, I'll be right back. So,
Oh, okay.
And the same thing will happen like with ministers. So suddenly you'll get up and they'll become poetic, and it'll be the thanks to the editors of the following publications where these poems first appeared. Many of the following poems have also been or will, and it was just like, what are you doing? And so when I started to read, I really wanted to read with the sense of somebody reading them.
Yeah, just personality.
Yeah.
Well, it's really, really good. You teach the School of the Arts. Is that right? What do you teach there?
I teach humanities and writing. I actually have a PhD in American literature, so I'm trained as a literature scholar, so I get to teach all kinds of humanities, which is great.
Okay. Teach any poetry at all?
I teach some poetry. I don't teach writing poetry. I occasionally do every once in a while. I really like the fact that I don't teach it, though. I think that's really valuable. I like that I teach literature and film and writing and other things.
Yeah. So do you have any other literature, or just poetry books?
I don't have any other books out. My wife and I wrote 2 guides to North Carolina wineries, which is where the kind of book on poetry, on wine poetry came from. And someday, hopefully, fiction. And I do all other kinds of writing, but right now it's the 4 books of poetry.
And you do a fair amount of traveling with your readings?
A fair amount. I do a fair amount of traveling with my family, which is the way kind of to do it. And we traveled a lot with the wineries guides. So, and then the readings will, April will be a big month for poets because it's National Poetry Month. So suddenly everybody's calling.
Your newest is sending Christmas cards to Huck and Hamlet.
Yeah.
That came out. When did that come out?
Last year, April
last
this
year.
time.
So have you got another one in the works right now?
I do. I have 2 more in the works, and another one, which will be, somewhere down the line soon.
So are the 2, they're going to come out at the same time?
No. The second one, it's just I've just conceptualized. It's like it exists only in my mind.
Okay.
So I haven't written the poems about it either. I have somebody said, "What's your best book?" I said, "It's the one like 2 books from now that I'm about to write in my mind." So.
So do you have any long-range plans or things that you'd like to see develop out of either what you're doing now or something entirely different that you'd like to be doing?
Wow. You know, my daughter
Just to
said,
get you thinking.
my daughter who's 10, she said, Daddy, when I'm 16, I want two things. I said, what? She said, I want an iPhone and I want the war in Afghanistan to be over with. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So when you ask like long-range plans, no, not really. I have visions I'd like to see for the world, but my own kind of career, I don't think of myself as having a career. I think of myself as having I'm going to write this poem, and then the horrible thing is you feel really great when you write a poem, and it's like, that was fantastic. I feel good about myself. And then the next day you wake up and it's like, oh, crap. I got to write a poem again today or something else. It's like you start all over again. And so it's just like poem by poem by poem. So I don't have any kind of long range, I'll do this huge thing.
Yeah,
so.
But the good thing about poetry, literature, or songs or anything like that is you really can change the world. Well, changing one person at a time just through what you've written and what they read and how they receive it.
It's paradoxical. You have to think this really isn't important. I'm just dabbling with poems. This is not, and you have to think this is the most important thing I could be doing right now. And you have to be able to keep both of those thoughts at the same time. And I do think, somebody just said, okay, I don't have any of your books, what should I buy? And I said, the most recent one, because I think every book gets better. And if you're not thinking that as an artist, I think that's a problem. If you don't think, yeah, this is the best thing I've done, then there's something going on. So I think I'm going to go better and better. And the great thing about writing, unlike, say, athletics, is, you know, if I was an athlete, I would have been retired 10 or 20 years ago. As a writer, I can get better all the way until I die, which is amazing, I think. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, would you read us one more? Sure.